is a Teacher of the Year, the end-all be-all of educators, the creme de la creme of the teaching profession. Our school system has the finest teachers you will find in the state and possibly the nation. So here, a Teacher of the Year represents all the excellent teachers in our county. It has been said, the mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, and the great teacher inspires. We are about to meet 3 great teachers. Each has a different story about what shaped their careers, but all 3 are definitely inspiring and a representative of all the great teachers in our county. One of them is about to become Fayette's 2012 Teacher of the Year. Let's take a look.
I take teaching very seriously. I take it personally when I hear people criticize it on the media. I think educating young people is one of the most, if not the most important thing you could possibly do in the world. For me, it was all about journalism. I had a college class with a professor named Dr. Dolan, and it was an introduction to American government. And in that class, he was able to convey a lot of the same emotions I felt through my journalism experience, but he applied it to government. It was very engaging, very exciting, and it made me really want to study government. And that kind of got me thinking, I kind of wish my high school experience with these classes had been similar. I had a great high school experience, but this was on a different level. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool if you could take his energy and involvement and his enthusiasm for the subject and apply that to high school students. In AP Government, one of the sections that they have to learn for the AP tests, as part of the curriculum, is the role of media in politics. I wanted the students to get an understanding of how difficult it is for news stations to try to decide what to present. So to have them sit there and have to argue for whether or not we should run 5 minutes on this candidate or we should do 5 minutes on a potentially dangerous product that's on the shelves really gives them an intrinsic experience that they wouldn't get if I was just trying to lecture them. The first thing I try to do more than anything else is make sure the students understand that I really, really care that they learn this stuff. And not just that they learn it to pass the tests, but that they learn it with the understanding that they're going to experience this material over and over again, particularly in economics, but in government as well. But the economic concepts of making good decisions, of making choices that lead to good choices in the future, good investments, good learning how to convey thoughts to people, learning how to write. I really, really care that they get that stuff. And that's when I come in every day, I want to make sure I get that across more than anything else. You have to be prepared to spend a good bit of time. In addition to those prepackaged things, I think it also helps if you're particularly creative, because the more creative you are, the more you can find those things that target each individual learner. Well, it helps to be creative, it helps to be patient. Don't be judgmental, because every student in there can learn. And if you start being judgmental, you start saying, well, I'm really just going to teach for these 10 because the rest of them aren't going to get it anyway. And that is probably the worst thing I think a teacher could do. It really is a calling. That's a very cliched thing to say. But it really is. If you want to be successful, then you need to feel like it's calling to you. You really need to do this. And that's what I felt. I left a much higher paying job to come back to this because I felt that I need to be in the classroom.
Be open. Which valves have to be open for what?
As difficult as teaching is, if you don't have a heart for the kids, I mean, you've got to love your subject, and you got to know your subject, and you've got to have effective methods of teaching, but you got to have a heart. I had been in business and I love that, but I'm a people person, and the kids, I mean, they're worth so much more than any product I ever dealt with. And the success is when you really reach a kid, when they respond to you, and maybe they've been one that was a little negative or pushed back to begin with, but when you really reach a kid, it beats a big sale, it beats an adoption of your product, whatever it is, the rewards are incredible. I'm an idea person. I'm not a real detail person. And sometimes I feel like I have to kind of fight that because I'm thinking, okay, is it going to be details on that end of course test? But I really like to get across the big ideas. Why does it matter? So what? I mean, if you answer the so what question, they relate to it a little bit more. But some things are just not in your realm of interest. And I just try to engage with the way we do inquiry, just to get them up and active and engaged. But I also do things like make them write in biology. And they read and respond to things because those are skills that they need. They have to communicate, they have to put together projects and ideas. And so I put those things in there too, and that kind of helps. Well, you got to build on that base of knowledge of your subject and love of your subject too, because if you don't like what the subject, it's not going to work. But you got to build on that base with concern for kids, with flexibility, with I'm going to try this again. I would say that too, especially with high school kids, they've got to be able to connect with you in some way. Every kid needs to experience unconditional high regard. I hold you in high regard. And the kids, you've got to communicate that. And you know what? It's not automatic. I love second semester because you've built so much trust by that time. And you have to slowly build relationships to show them that you're interested in them, not just their products, not just what they produce for you, but you're interested in them. Flexibility, a sense of humor. You got to have a sense of humor about yourself. I mean, there are days where I go, oh, we will never do this again. That didn't work. But you know what? When I come in and say, what do you think about that, what we did yesterday? That's not going to work again. They suddenly say, you know what? And sometimes what I do doesn't work, but I can do better, or I can try it again.
Now that you have what's going to be your radius, what do we
I knew, like you said early on, that teaching was what I wanted to do. And I think it's because I grew up valuing education. And I remember being in college taking advanced level math courses thinking, this is crazy, this is theorems and proofs, and this is, oh my gosh, but I know when I get to the high school, I know I can do this. I know I can take the high school content, I know I can break it down, and I know that my goal is to try to make it easier for everybody else. To be a good educator, in summary, you have to be a good entertainer first. If you have a mundane voice and you just sit in front of them or behind them every day during the week and, let's graph the cubic function, you're not even going to have them to start with. So I try to, as much as possible, incorporate music or interesting visuals or funny stories, or have them involved, and where do you see this shape? And they will come in on a daily basis and say, why am I ever going to need to use this? And when you have conic systems in front of them or trig equations in front of them, your first step is not to blame them for asking that question. They have every right to ask that question, so you have to approach it two different ways. Number one, take all of the math theory out of it. You are learning to problem solve. So at the high school level, I find that application. I show them that it is used out there. So parabolas have properties that satellites use. Would they be using their cell phone? If satellites weren't up, would they be watching cable TV without satellites? No. Now, will they be the people building the satellites? Not necessarily, but it goes back to just the love and value of education. Let me show you how things are working. Don't you want to be educated about how the world around you is working? Stop thinking, oh, it's out there, it works, yay. Well, what happens if it stops working? Who's going to be the person to advance this and do other things, or to fix it? And just to kind of appreciate that it is out there to put things in the world that makes your life easier. So maybe we should at least try to have an appreciation for it. The most important thing to know, especially for a teacher with a high level content, and really any grade, you have to have a work ethic. This is not a job where you are going to show up to school at 8 o'clock and leave at 4 o'clock and be done. And I think sometimes it has that misconception. So they have to have the work ethic. And the only way you're going to have the work ethic is if you have the love of content, if you have the love of helping students no matter what age. I would never want to be in a job where I didn't get to work with high schoolers on a daily basis.
The winner will be announced on April 19th during the Fayette County Teacher of the Year ceremony at New Hope Baptist Church North Campus. You are invited to join us starting at 6 p.m. All school-level Teachers of the Year will be honored, followed by the naming of the 2012 Teacher of the Year. For Channel 24, I'm Melinda Berry Dreisbach. Thanks for watching.
you.